Hello, everyone. It's David Ault, and this is a special edition of The Gathering. I wasn't traveling this weekend, and there was no scheduled virtual talks that I was to give, so it was a ripe opportunity to be able to do a live version, to send out a Zoom link and have people come in and join in conversation. And I love those times because there's great things that we can uncover and excavate when the energy can settle in and people can feel safe enough to be able to share. It's one of the most powerful communal things that we can do to promote healing for ourselves. That recording I felt was maybe not appropriate to share in this particular version, so I'm doing a recap. The recap really focuses on one central thing that I've been participating in, and I know that others have as well. And it's with regards to integrity. First of all, what does integrity mean to you? And when you can sit with that meaning and that definition, and then you can combine it with the spiritual principle, the fundamental bottom line principle, the encapsulating one idea that it's all God. You want to bring integrity to that. What does that mean? Well, for me, when I used that as my sort of front and center intention, to bring integrity to the idea that it's all perfect, that it's all God, that the only reality is love, that means that I bring it intentionally into every thought, word, and deed as much as possible, or as much as I am willing or self-aware to do. And since making that intention, that commitment, it's been really incredibly revealing. You know how we often talk about attachment and that attachment promotes suffering. I don't know if we actually understand how deeply we are attached, that how much that is woven into the fabric of simply being human. Being human, being this dual existence, there is this sort of indoctrination, an illusion, if you will, that there is an us and them, that there is a limitation, that there is an other, that there is competition, that there is anything beyond the realm of love. That's what being human is. That's the curriculum that our souls sign up for to travel into this journey. People will always say, why? Why do we take this curriculum? How do we go from being a part of this pure essence and come into human form to go into this suffering, to come into the realm of attachment? And it's one thing to say to learn, it's our soul's assignment, but why is the learning of value? And I don't have an answer for that. But I can tell you from personal work and personal journeying and experience that there is this reality, capital R reality, this non-dual experience where there is a mystical understanding, a bliss, if you will, that only love is real. And it is the opportunity to be witness to the portal of that capital R reality that somehow makes this dual human experience manageable. That's why I'm so indebted to a spiritual path. That's why I'm so grateful that all the things happened in my life to bring me to a commitment to walk a spiritual path, because I can't imagine what it would be like to be in this existence, this duality day after day without any glimpse, without any hope of anything better. And so to bring integrity to the principle means that somehow in my commitment to walk a spiritual path, perhaps there is an influential energy that will be able to help other people do the same. I believe that's really what the purpose of this existence is to help one another, to reawaken to a spiritual understanding, to a personal magnificence, to a realignment and awareness of who and what we are. Otherwise, it is an existence. It's a perpetual sleepwalk. In the sharing that we did this past Sunday, I was talking about how until there is such an awareness, or until there is such a devotion or an invitation for integrity, that life seems to be in a loop. It's strive, achieve, assess, feel, strive. It's the same thing with a multitude of experiences of both failure and success and evaluation and beating ourselves up and seeking praise. It's all of the things that are a part of the storyline of being a dual being, until something shifts, until a spiritual path, until there is an awakening, sometimes until there's a bottoming out, which creates a rising up. But if something doesn't shake that particular loop, that conformity, then that loop is the existence of that incarnation, of that lifetime. But when that thing happens, something shifts, and the loop then becomes a spiral. So suddenly there is a new elevated awareness, elevated choices, different framework by which we navigate the duality, you see. And so then it is understood, and there can be integrity to the idea of unlimited potentiality, because now you're not in the loop. Now the energy is flowing up in the spiral, and it's boundless. There is no ceiling. There is no finite nature to that. So bringing integrity to the principle, it's a sort of a confrontation, because I come up with my attachments. I come up with so many things that are held. They're held within a subjective field, a subconscious. And it isn't until you bring the subconscious to the light, until you make the unconscious conscious, as Freud would say, until you make the unconscious conscious, you will live this life in everything you will call fate. But when you make a vow, like this intention, I want to bring integrity to that principle through me, then that is an invitation to bring the unconscious into the light, to bring the attachments, to bring the reactionary behavior. So often when things feel out of control, we will either fight it or flee it. Just reflect a moment upon the world and the fact that the entire world, don't miss the amazement of this, the entire world, not just a culture, not just a country, but the entire world went through a hitch. It went through an unsettling. It went through a massive disruption. And you can start to see behaviorally the division and the projection and the anger, and I'm right and you're wrong. And you can start to see how all of that up-leveled, and it brought out the unconscious nature within people. And so there's a big population of self-righteousness. There is a big gathering of what's mine to try to protect. And then there is a population of souls who are giving, and the best of them is coming out, and they are uncovering that beautiful plenitude that through their giving, through their love, through their helping brothers and sisters and everyone around them, that everything up levels, and you start to see all of the behavior. And it isn't that any of these people are good or bad, right and wrong. It's just an exemplification of consciousness. So to want to bring integrity, to the principle that God is all that there is, through me, through thought, word, and deed. Moment by moment, day by day practice. And so everything unconscious has come up, everything that's been dormant. You know, those things that are dormant are kind of the things like, I got that handled. And then all of a sudden, someone showed up in my world who is very bold and brash. And it made me realize that there was a particular time in my life when I pushed down the bold and brash part of me. And brash is not a good word. There's a boldness that's a little bit, And I realized that I have a judgment about that because I did not give myself permission to do that. There was such an early part of my formative years that was still hooked in the idea of good boy syndrome. Don't, you're, first of all, you're not accepted and you're not enough anyway. So you better not trouble the waters or muddy the waters even more by attempting to be bold. That meant that you had to be super nice and you had to be super accommodating. I'm speaking for myself. And so when I see people who appear to be the antithesis of that at an age when I was not that, there's a great irritation there, not just within me, but in other people as well. And suddenly I realized I'm in a loop. I'm in a loop of a past behavior that's never been reconciled. Did this experience come full tilt in my face because of my intention to bring integrity to the principle? I believe so. I believe that there are financial things in front of me. There is relevancy things in front of me. There is systems things in front of me that are inviting me to do things differently, to actually bring some of this latent boldness to present day and putting it forth. It's interesting that I can do it for my work with my foundation. I'm bringing a lot of boldness up front because I can do it, but I can't as yet, up until now, do it for myself. And it's an interesting thing. And so to bring integrity to the principle that God is all that there is means that somehow I still wasn't seeing myself as an effective channel for God, as an enough channel for God. And therefore, there were still parts of everything that I was giving, never satisfied with recordings. Classes are over and I go, I wish I had said it this way. I wish I'd done that way. I just didn't do it right. And what that does is it discredits my gift to the world. And that's no one's fault but my own. And so every single time I embark upon a new thing, I will be in a loop until I can give my gift and not have an attachment upon what someone says or does, or how they respond, or how many people sign up. I give it freely without attachment. And so that's one of the bigger things, because not only is it not in integrity with the principle, because I'm not even willing to honor myself as a part of the principle, but it's also affecting and feeding this lie that many of us deal with. And it's about not being relevant enough, or trying to keep up with a trend, or trying to change things instead of just taking a breath and realizing that everything in this now moment is right and perfect. How am I going to bring integrity to that instead of just it being a catchphrase? How are you going to bring integrity to the idea that it's all perfect, it's all God? I'm curious. I'm curious what it's like to sit in that intention, because it's a kind of a roller coaster ride. It's raw. I've noticed that there have been many, many days where there's a big enthusiasm about it because I see clarity that up until this point in time I didn't really see. And then there are days when it feels really raw and it's like, you know what, maybe this wasn't such a good idea because it's so revealing. And I see the temptation to make the external world a scapegoat for my pain. You know, we say, I don't, you know, I don't care about this. The reality is we do care, and that becomes a defense mechanism. I do care. And so I don't want to make the external world a scapegoat because there's nothing to escape from. So bottom line, it continues to be turning to. Instead of fighting or fleeing, it's turning to the vulnerability, turning to the awareness, turning to the old, stale, subjective, hidden, sleepy, dusty thought in there. And as it rises, going, I must be doing something right with my intention to bring integrity, because look what came up to the surface. And loving it. Oh my God. That's really it. It's something incredibly radical in the human world, in the world of duality. Is something incredibly radical to love all of the rawness, all of the history, all of the eccentricities, all of the neuroses, to love it. To bring the unconscious into the conscious. To bring the unconscious into the light. So that we're not calling this life fate. We're living it deliberately, in alignment and in integrity with the principle that God is all that there is. So I don't want to scare you with the invitation to try it, because there's nothing scary about it. It's beautiful. It's just different. It's different to walk around in this world with that intention, to see God in everything, because what it calls into play is reaction. What it calls into play is news and social media and the temptation of division. There's a deliciousness in human form with division, because suddenly you might feel special because you've been asked to be on this side, but there is no side. And so that's a thing that kind of feels a little discombobulating, because there is no scapegoat. You get to look at everything and go, oh, thanks. Thank you. Thank you for being a wisdom keeper. Thank you for being a gatekeeper. Thank you for being the hands and the heart to get me to this new awareness. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff in human form, but it's why we're here. It's why we're here. And so I invite you to walk this crazy path of creating an intention to bring integrity to the principle that all is God, that it's all love. To go to the pain, to go to the division with that vision, with that intention. There's so much more revelation and transcendence and freedom in that approach than going up to the aggression, the systemic issue, and fighting it. I want to meet you on that path. Thank you for coming to the gathering today. Know that you are loved and cherished, and that I'm here. If there is ever anything that you want to talk about, just reach out. Thanks so much. Till next time.